Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ashton, and here we are in our second episode of my Are You Mad series. We have a very special guest. He's a legendary soul singer, disco singer, founder of Night Flight. He also had a label with NM Records. Let This Dream Be Real, and So Fine. My friend Bonita actually told me that she was actually conceived with her parents listening to that song. So here we have the legendary Howard Williams Johnson. Would you like to, Howard Williams Johnson, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes, I'm Howard Johnson, known from coast to coast like buttered toast. No, I'm just a small town country boy from Miami, Florida, from Coconut Grove, that just happened to be in the right place at the right time to have some success in the R&B and pop world back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your songs hit the top charts, like, so I've listened to them. They're amazing. What inspired your music?
Wow. Well, I grew up in the church. Both my parents sing, not professionally. And I was influenced by a lot of gospel music, the Chuck Wagon Gang, which was really a country and gospel group, and influenced by, Sam Cooke, the Five Blind Boys of Alabama. Wow. A lot of gospel music and country music I was influenced by.
Oh, that's amazing. A country as well. And now you're working on a new album. You've been traveling the world. So tell us, you're a little bit like me. You're an artist that takes your music in all different directions. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Later this year in the fall, I'll be releasing my new album, which is called Compelled. I worked on it for about 8 years, and it's amalgamation of music of basically of a lifetime, not necessarily the past 8 years or 2 years or 6 months or whatever. It's just, if you really pay attention to the lyric content, it's basically my life.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about the beanie. I mean, we connected last night. We connected actually on a spiritual level, so we'll dig into that later. But tell us a little bit about the beanie and how your look.
Well, I just want it to be basic and simple. I love primary colors, and I just felt that the Compelled album needed to have a common thread of simplicity within it, and I just felt sometimes I'll wear a blue beanie, sometimes I'll wear a red beanie, and sometimes I'll wear an orange beanie. And on the Compelled album, I have a rock song, I have a gospel song, and I have a country song. And when I do my country material, I wear my orange beanie.
Yeah, and speaking of simple, that's amazing. You told me a little bit about how you're kind of switching to a more simple type lifestyle, which is very in right now. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I just kind of fell into, being a Buddhist and practicing, yoga, Kundalini yoga. I just wanted a simpler way of how to approach life. And it kind of led me into Japanese minimalism and just having a simpler way of life. When you think about what we're doing now as a people, that we need storage units, it's taking away too much is being paid attention to gathering. And I think we need to spend more time, or I have spent more time with me and being able to give back. And within that giving back, the simpler I make my life, the simpler it is for me to give back.
And kind of like the less is more concept. And I've noticed the simpler I make my life, the more I grow spiritually. Is that kind of...
Absolutely.
Yeah, the same lines. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were brought up Christian. I find this very fascinating. Now you're Buddhist. And so what led you to that transition?
Some good friends of mine, Eileen and Madeline Randolph, who I've known for quite a few years, working with A&M Records and Quest Records, and working with me at the beginning of the Compelled project. I've been Buddhist for many years, and they talked about the simplicity and what I can gather from, Buddhism. And I just kind of fell into that and just worked hard to, to simplify my life, and Buddhism seems to work for me.
I love that. That's amazing. And you've lived a very dynamic life. We connected very quickly when you came into town all the way from California yesterday, and I kind of keyed in because I'm a little bit of an I don't know what to call it, but I'm very intuitive. I keyed into the fact that you knew the Jacksons, and then also that you love the Waldorf Astoria for some reason. Those both came to my mind when I met you.
Yes.
So yeah, you've met a lot of amazing people and just lived a very dynamic life. But I was going to ask you, so because of your dynamic life, what shapes you into the refined and inspiring man that you are today? I'm curious, like as a behavioral therapist, like.
Wow.
I know that's like a loaded question, but.
There's been many facets in my life. There's many facets to my life, traveling around the world as much as I've traveled around the world, to be able to be open, to be a sponge. To be able to absorb and understand a different way of thinking, a different way of living, a different way of participating, a different way of accepting those things around me, and not only putting them in my life, but putting those things in my songs. And it's just been a wonderful experience to have the friendship and relationships that I have all around the world, and to be able to put it in my music, and that's what I'm trying to do now, more so than in the past. Because when I worked with Kashif on my second album, on my first solo album, they didn't allow me to do any writing. They were like, well, we're going to take the wheel and we're going to control everything that you're going to do. And that was fine, because obviously Kashif, Paul Lawrence Jones, they're great producers. And then I got the opportunity later in life to work with the likes of Ray Parker Jr., Leon Silvers, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and I've learned a lot from all of those relationships. And it's helped me not only in music, but in life.
In life, yeah, and that you learned a lot from them, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Because in the industry, I know the highs are highs and the lows are lows, and strangely enough, when I'm depressed, I write my best music. Can you relate to the ups and downs of that industry and the manic highs, and kind of like, so I've kind of tried to turn the lows into a positive thing. That's when I write my best songs, so
right.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I look at it is music sometimes is really just a reflection of life. And sometimes I don't try to take the negative and turn it into a positive. I just let it be what it is.
You know that shows how you're more evolved than me. Yeah,
right.
Spiritually. No, that was actually very profound, what you just said.
Because I remember I was doing a lecture, more of a Q&A than a lecture at a music institute, and someone asked me what I thought about writer's block. And I told them there's no such thing as writer's block. And everyone in the class had this look on their face like, of course there's writer's block. And then they say, well, what would you do? I says, write about writer's block.
It's very innovative thinking. I feel as a therapist, I think people are afraid of those times, writer's block, or just the times when things are a little bit slower in life. But those are the times actually I kind of cherish, because like we need to have time to recuperate and then kind of think about life and what we've learned. And because if we were just always going, we wouldn't have those times to collect our thoughts.
Right.
So I see it as a positive thing too.
Also within that, what you said to me is very important when you talk about that people are afraid of this, that, or the other. The thing that you have to lose but still be aware of is fear. When people talk about being an entertainer, whether it's an actor, an artist, recording artist, or whatever, says people are afraid of failure. Not really, because people live in failure every day. And failure, in my opinion, is basically being content. So they live within that every day. What people are really afraid of is success, because what it takes to be successful it's constant hard work. It's like being in a relationship. You know, one day you're the gardener, the next day you're the flower, and you have to alternate back and forth. And the same thing happens with music, in my opinion, for me in my life, and how I try to live it, is accepting things for what they are, but paying attention to what they are, and not necessarily trying to change them. You have to be, and you have to be present. I try not to live with the luggage of yesterday or the imaginary luggage of tomorrow, so I just try to be present.
And that's one thing I think we all need to work on a little bit more, just being present in the moment. It's very calming, and I feel like a lot of the viewers need to hear this right now, just about cherishing those times, actually.
Absolutely.
Like the less is more times and the calm times in life. And I agree with you, because the most difficult things in my life actually gave me the most wisdom. So that's why we shouldn't fear going through difficulty or hardship, because who I was before the hardship wouldn't have, you know, I wasn't as knowledgeable or wise. So that's probably why you are so wise,
well,
innovative, spiritually.
There's lessons in everything. Every single thing. On our way here, just watching traffic and how people respond to changing lanes, there's lessons in every single thing. And my dad once told me, son, all red flags are not red. You know what I mean? So basically, all warnings aren't screaming at you that it's a warning.
I get what you're saying.
You know, so it's basically just paying attention, you know, to your surroundings, and being able to capitalize on that, and being able to use that, because, you know, we're here to tell a story. We're here to help one another, and to be able to help, you got to be able to listen. And if you don't listen, you can't help, because you're too busy with yourself.
Yeah. I'm learning so much from you. You're way more progressed than I am. Even as a behavioral therapist in my education, you're on a whole different level. Yeah, I can learn so much from you. Thank you so much for sharing that
My
message.
pleasure. I learned from you also.
So, thank you. I love your approach to life. I'm gonna rewatch this a lot to remember the ways I can work on myself, and hopefully the listeners will learn from this as well, to come to a more peaceful place in their life, because going through the pandemic and everything, I feel like people even went in one direction or the other, and let's go in a positive, or I wouldn't say a positive direction, more a peaceful direction.
Peaceful direction.
Instead of positive,
Absolutely.
let's say peaceful.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Because sometimes you have to spend time with yourself. You know, I had a problem when I was growing up, that I would suffer with insomnia. I'd only sleep 3 to 5 hours a night, which I still deal with, not necessarily suffer with. And I asked my dad, you know, why do I wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning? My dad says, son, says, what happens between 3 and 4, 5 o'clock in the morning is your life's film is playing back. Most people choose not to watch it.
Well, some people call it the witchy hour,
Right.
5 a.m., because that's when, and I have dreams about people, and to be honest, yeah, that's the time I actually dream about people, like kind of keying into their intentions and people in my life who I'm trying to help, because once a week I'll pray and God, who do you want me to help this week? And I'll have dreams, what do you want me to do with this information? And the time I have those dreams actually is in the early morning, like around that time, 4 or 5 a.m. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, that film is playing back to you, and it's talking to you. You're talking to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and
Always a
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. It's an honor meeting you, and you've been such a gentleman too. We need more people like him in the world. He even opened the door for me, and he's just been a complete gentleman, very refined man, and these younger guys need to learn a lot from him. Maybe they'll get there. Maybe, I don't know.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure's mine. Voila.